Today we're talking all things Potter VR, abridged lit, and memory books. Plus, we're celebrating diversity in literature this week, so check out all the book buzz. All right, you guys, this week's theme has been all about diversity in literature at Go Read, and we've got some feelings to share on that.
But first, let's hit this week's highlights with our weekly roundup.
Guys, we could have a never-ending discussion about Harry Potter adjacent happenings in the world, but I would like to focus on the one thing that Potterheads are counting down the days for: Hogwarts Mystery. This interactive mobile game is coming soon to us from Portkey Games, which has released a demo and a whirlwind of excitement. So I watched the 20-minute walkthrough that's available, and I got so excited about this game. So they're pegging this game to be just like Pokemon Go, but more interactive and more magical. You get your own character, and you get to experience life as a Hogwarts student. Oh, there will be so much real-world interactions, and there's a lot to be revealed on the horizon. So keep our eyes out for that release date, which isn't out yet, but it's definitely coming soon, 2018.
Well, Harry Potter is a classic series, and guess what? If you didn't know this, you can get illustrated versions for young readers. You can get the first 3 books. And speaking of diversity, because that's what we're talking about today, there are a lot of great books that parents can use to introduce their children to different cultures and different places, different times, different races, everything you can think of. And of course, we think there should be more. But today, I want to pose a new question to you. Should kids read classic abridged literature? Now, some people have real feelings about this, and we want to get into the debate. So let me summarize the two sides. First, some believe that classic literature should be simplified, rewritten with pictures so children can engage with the text before it becomes assigned reading in high school or college. One great example is The Great Gatsby. Did you know that there is a illustrated version of The Great Gatsby? I didn't. One that I have read is The Little Princess. I read the story version before I read the real version. Well, the other side says, no, we shouldn't do this because, well, several reasons. If kids read it at a young age, they really, in an illustrated version, abridged version, they really lose out on the beauty of the story, the theme, or the substance, and they have this fear that children will not fully engage with it when they're older because they've already read it. Now, some studies have found that this doesn't even happen. But instead, abridged texts introduce children to a new realm of thinking, and that adds to their cognitive development. I don't know about you, but I have some real feelings about this, and let me summarize them. Number 1, this concern that, well, kids won't want to read the real text, I think that's just silly. I read so many books as a child, and I don't even remember. And I didn't remember until later in life. I mean, there's only a few that had a real impact on me that I can say, yeah, I remember reading this as a first grader, for example. So I think that part of it is silly. Number 2, let's be honest. Many of the stories that children read, and even into middle school and high school, it's the same theme, same story. It's just showing up again and again. So if there's a way to help children think and grow their reading skills, I think we should do it. Who cares if they're going to see it again because they're going to see it somewhere else. But number 3, when our illiteracy stats change in America, then I will debate this stuff with you. But right now, at this point, I think we should just get kids reading whatever it takes. If it's an illustrated version of The Great Gatsby or not, or if it's Where the Red Fern Grows, I don't care. Let's just get them reading and thinking. And then once we get there and we have the best education system in the world, then I'll be willing to debate this with you. So viewers, I want to know, what do you think?
Yes, definitely let us know in the comments how you feel about abridged classics. I know how I feel. And studies show that picture books may help cognitive abilities of children, and they may also help retain cognitive ability in adults. Memory books can be created for relatives with trouble recalling the past. So, guys, you can create a book of images along with text to describe the history behind a photo, or you can theme it around a particular decade in a loved one's life, places they have lived, or people who are important to them. And these memory books that people are creating may also assist the caregiver in knowing a bit more background on a person. So if you've been thinking about writing, here's your chance, guys. And I mean, maybe you write together as a family. This can really bring people together. Like if you guys have ever done an ancestry project, I think writing breathes a new life into something and it's concrete and will live on. Also, you may discover a new passion along the way. Writing books, writing coffee table books, maybe writing memoirs or bios. So, as we like to say here on the show, I say keep reading, keep writing, and of course, keep being awesome.
Wow, what a powerful story. And it's always good to look at the past and remember the good times. But it's also really good to look forward and celebrate our victories, especially in diversity, and look at the ways that we can improve that, right? So we have come a long way with diversity, but we absolutely have a long way to go, right?
For sure.
Yes.
So one of my favorite kind of anecdotes about diversity in literature is exemplified in Ursula K. Le Guin, who just passed away this week. So she had a really long life. She's been writing books since the 1960s. She was born in 1929, so she had a really long career, and thankfully she made great waves in the world of fantasy. So she was one of the first writers to take feminism and kind of play with gender roles and kind of bring that into the fantasy genre, which was predominantly before that time a man's world, right? So The Lord of the Rings and J.R.R. Tolkien was kind of the father of like modern fantasy, and she read his series in the 50s and she said, you know what, that was great, but we can do better. And she's just kind of paved the way, and she won all of the sci-fi awards you could win. The Hugo Award, the Nebula, the World Sci-Fi. Like, she's been crowned top victor multiple times across her career, which is amazing, making waves for women in the world. And in 2003, she was named the Grand Master of Science Fiction, which is a huge honor for a lady in writing.
That's awesome. And what I find as like diversity in literature is we are coming a long way with feminism in literature and feminist authors. So we have not just these new feminist authors and this new wave, but also diversity in those subcultures as well. So, I mean, we have like Margaret Atwood, but then we also have a lot of people from different cultures that are coming to the forefront, like Malala Yousafzai, and then we also have Maya Angelou, Toni Morrison. We have a lot of Hispanic Latin authors coming out that I'm really excited for. And we also have male feminist authors as well who are coming to the forefront. So seeing this diversity play out in that way makes me so excited to see this literature and learn more about cultures and also political movements as well.
Yeah, and I like what you said about male authors also being feminists, because we really need allies. Like, it can't just be women who are advocating for women, right? Mm-hmm. We need everyone.
For sure.
Guys, I think we need to go a layer deeper. Mm-hmm. So I've looked into some of the statistics. In the publishing industry in particular, it is still 70-80% white and mostly men. Now, women have... There's been a lot for women to promote them in the industry as far as publishing books, editing, copywriting, all of that. And we can't just blame the industry. It's just not that easy and say hire more diverse people, because it's not that industry. The tech industry has been going through this as well. So I thought about some ways that we can help promote people of other cultures and to help it be more diverse.
Cool.
So one of them is that we just need to help the kids. We need to introduce them to writing and reading different cultures. And the publishing industry should definitely step into this to also attract more layout designers, book cover designers, editors, etc., because that would really help when someone from another culture comes and they have to edit their book. If they have someone from that culture actually do the editing.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So I think that's one thing we can do. I have a friend, his name is Mark, and he recently told me a story about how when he first went to college, people laughed at him because they didn't think he would make it. But he wanted to be a writer, and when he told that to his first I think it was a writing course, that first professor, she wrote on one of his papers, "You will never be a writer."
That is awful.
Isn't that awful?
Yeah.
He's
We
published
gotta
5
build-
books.
Well, good for him.
Yeah.
And I like what you said about introducing children to diversity in literature, because that is a great way to kind of set the bar, right? Because you have to do that. You have to like shape their
Yes.
world and let them know it's bigger.
You
than just
can do
them.
it. You can do anything. You could write this book when you grow up, or you can edit this book, or you can design this book, for sure, and encourage them along the way. It breaks my heart to hear that any adult, any parent, any teacher would say, "You can't do this."
Yeah,
That's
that's
insane.
awful.
So I think those are some of the things that we can help do to create diversity. And I think
Yeah.
all of us should band together. And maybe it's not your kid. Maybe it's your kid's best friend in the car. Encourage them if they want to write. Say, yeah, you can do it. You can do anything.
Yeah. You know
Yeah.
what's a really good tool for children that we've talked about before? Good Night for Rebel Girls.
Yes.
Because they exemplify different women and how they're powerful. And all of the people in the books, they're all very diverse.
Yeah, for sure. And to your point of what you're saying is like, teaching kids, there are some really good TED Talks by Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie that are really amazing. She has one on feminism, but also one on how she grew up and she would write these books and how all these books were whitewashed. And she grew up in Africa and she, was reading all these books and she thought everyone, talked about the weather, and talked about, things that were British and crumpets and, all apples. But they didn't have that there. Like, where she grew up, it was about mangoes, and they didn't talk about the weather because it was always hot. But all of the books around literature were, of this, Western world, and it was all the same story. So bringing diversity to kids and opening their mental molds is so important. So I would definitely recommend checking out that TED Talk.
Wow, that's so powerful. And you're absolutely right. We need more cultures reflected in popular literature. And we're getting a little bit more of that with the N.K. Jemisin's of the sci-fi world. Tommy Adeyemi has a book coming out set in Africa that's a fantasy book, but it's all set across the plains of Africa. So for her, that is a reflection of her society. And that's so great to share with children all around the world, not just African children. So that's a great way to open their eyes to that.
Yeah, for sure. And we were discussing this earlier, and I like something that one of y'all said about how when you are picking your books, when you're buying these books, you're casting your vote. So
yeah, absolutely.
I think that was your point. Would you explain that a little more?
Yeah, so if you want to see a difference, you want to see a change, you absolutely have to cast your vote with your money. How do you spend your money? Because that's how things are weighed, right? That's how things get popular and how the publishing industry works, right?
That
And
is
how
right.
can people do that?
How can people do that? Oh my gosh, I have some great news to share
Oh
with
my
you.
gosh.
So starting in February, Go Read is going to give a book away to a child in need when you buy a book on Go Read. It's buy a book, give a book. So we are super excited about that because that's going to be a way to give children's books away to children who need to be reading. So we want you, we'll be talking more about it and you'll be able to see a counter on the website, but we want you to go buy books to give books away.
Yeah, and find some diverse authors in literature. One of my New Year's resolutions is to read more foreign and more diverse books. So cast y'all's vote. Go for these diverse authors in these different cultures. Learn, open your mind, open your world.
Absolutely. Definitely cast that vote with the money you spend. All right. Well, thank you for joining us today and chatting about all of this diversity and all the book buzz.
And if you have any bookish topics you want us to dive into, let us know in the comments.
And be sure to like and share all of our Monday, Wednesday, and Friday content.
Until next time, keep reading, writing, and being awesome. We will.
Bye.